All right, let's jump right into one of the wildest stories in Hindu mythology. We're talking about Rishyasringa, a powerful sage who was born with, get this, the horns of a deer. Yeah, you heard that right. And his very existence just makes you ask a question that seems to break all the rules of logic. So, how on earth could a sage, a figure of immense wisdom, be born from a deer? I mean, it sounds like something out of a fantasy epic, right? But this is the core mystery of this ancient legend. And to get to the answer, we have to look at this absolutely wild chain of events that all starts not with the son, but with his incredibly powerful father. Okay, so it all kicks off with the father. His name is Sage Vibhahandaka, a really formidable ascetic. And believe me, his story is the key that unlocks this whole thing. Now, Vibhandaka wasn't just some random sage. He came from a seriously powerful spiritual line. He was a descendant of the great sage Kashyap, who is, one of the most respected figures in all of Hindu lore. So this guy had major spiritual clout. And it's one single moment, one act from this powerful ascetic that gets the whole ball rolling. So you've got this incredibly disciplined, powerful guy, but even he had a moment of, well, human weakness. And what was the cause? A vision of just jaw-dropping beauty. He catches sight of the celestial nymph, the Apsara or Rashi, while she's bathing. And this sight was so captivating, it just completely overwhelmed all his years of ascetic control. And right here, this is where the story just veers off the path of ordinary and dives straight into the miraculous. I mean, that one single moment of desire, it kicks off a chain reaction that is so unbelievable, you'd have to call it divine intervention. Okay, so how did this impossible thing actually happen? Let's walk through it. First, the sage is overcome with desire. His potent essence is then released into a nearby body of water. Then, and this is the crazy twist of fate, a doe just happens to come by for a drink. But, and this is so important, this wasn't just any doe. She was actually a celestial being who had been cursed to live as a deer. So as she drinks the water, the impossible happens. She miraculously becomes pregnant. And the result of this? Well, this unbelievable union? A child is born, who is just as unique as the way he was conceived. A boy born from a doe, who actually had a physical sign of his mother's side of the family. Sage Vibhandaka gives his son the name Rishyasringa. And this name is just perfect because it tells his whole story. It literally translates to she who holds a deer's horn, which is a direct reference to the small horn he had on his head right from birth. So his name was his story, right there. Now, Vibhandaka was worried. He was afraid his son might get distracted by the same worldly desires that got him. So what does he do? He raises Rishyasringa in complete and total isolation. I mean, his childhood was the exact opposite of what you'd call normal. He never saw another human being, he had zero concept of society, and he had absolutely no idea that women even existed. His entire world was just the forest and his dad's lessons. That's it. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds kind of cruel, right? But Vibhandaka had a really deep reason for it. This extreme isolation wasn't just about protecting his son. No, it was all about cultivating a type of power that was completely unique, something the world had never seen. And this is the big payoff, the crucial result of that isolation. Rishyasringa's total innocence, that became the very source of his power. Because he was completely untouched by worldly desires or any kind of corruption, his spiritual energy was just pure. It was focused and unbelievably potent. So let's recap, right? When you boil it all down, this story is about these incredible things coming together. You've got the powerful father, the ascetic Vibhandaka. You've got the celestial mother who is cursed to be a doe. And you've got this miraculous birth that just goes to show how divine power can pop up in the most unexpected ways. And that leaves us with something to chew on. This ancient story, with all its wild, fantastical pieces, it really makes you ask a deeper question, doesn't it? If a sage's greatest strength can literally be born from his father's moment of weakness and then be nurtured in total innocence, well, what does that say about where true power really comes from? Is it about knowing everything about the world, or is it about being completely pure from it? Something to think about.